We're going to go ahead and get started with our media availabilities for today. We are joined by Christopher Bell, driver of the number 20 Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. If you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. We'll start over here on the left and then we'll go to the right.
Hey, Christopher, it's Marty from Rock Sports Network and Race Pro Weekly. Last year you finished fourth here. Your results here in the Cup car at Pocono have been up and down. When you look at last year coming on in, what do you look at to try and help you out with the car?
Yeah, Pocono is one of the tracks that the notes from last year should correlate pretty well because it's the second time here with the same package. So that's always rewarding. The Toyota cars got a slight body change over the off season, so we'll have to just compare notes to what we did at the other intermediates. But the intermediates have been good for us, so it's definitely a track that I think we can perform well at, and it's always one that I look forward to coming to.
Nathan Salm with a podium finish. Christopher, I know how much emphasis you had on Monday at Loudon. Obviously, that race didn't go to plan for you guys. So, how do you view, the fight for the regular season championship now after what happened there?
It's definitely getting further out of sight. That's for sure. But now it's just a matter of getting all we can, and whether that's second, third, whatever the case may be. So, we've had a couple of we've had several really poor finishes in a row here, so it'd be nice to get to the checkered flag without an incident. So yeah, I mean, I think our performance is certainly capable of competing for it, but the way the last couple of weeks have gone, I don't know if that's realistic anymore.
We'll go to Bob.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. I had two. The first, on the accident there late in the race last week, was that just you pushing too hard, or was there something else?
Yeah, just trying to get too much in a mental mistake that cost me a bunch of points.
And the test at New Hampshire being moved to Richmond, is doing it at Richmond any different, or would you expect to get any different information than doing it in New Hampshire?
That's a good question. And, me personally, I probably don't care. But I know a lot of guys pushed against Richmond. Richmond was one of the first tracks that NASCAR brought up. And in our meeting, a lot of guys said that Richmond probably isn't the place to do it just because tire wear is so big. And, there's a pretty big difference between good cars on long runs and not good cars on long runs. So they were worried that the cars would get a little bit more separated at Richmond than they would at a place with low tire degradation like Loudon. So it is, interesting that Richmond was first on the list and the drivers kind of deterred against it, and now that's where we're going.
We'll head to Zach in the back.
Zach Sterniello, NASCAR.com. Christopher, talking about just a rough stretch of finishes, at least. Like you said, the performance has been there. You had a top 5 here a year ago. You had a test here as well last year. What does that give you any more confidence, or does it put any more emphasis on just coming away with a solid finish, or a finish where that you feel like the performance justifies on Sunday? Does it make it more, does it put a bigger target on that this weekend?
Yeah, I hear you. I would say yes, but looking at the last couple of races, Loudon is probably one of my best tracks, and we didn't get a good finish there. So certainly I think every racetrack that we go to, we're capable of running well, and generally we have been running well in the race and then just not finishing well. So, Pocono at least is a place that gets typically a little bit more spread out. Restarts are always hectic here, but if we can just, I say we, the last couple of weeks have been on me, not we, it's been on me. And if I can just, execute restarts and get in position to, have a solid finish where I don't have to overdrive the car, or I think we'll be all right. I've just done a really bad job behind the wheel the last couple of weeks at the end of the races on closing them out.
We'll go to Chris Knight, and then we'll go to Jeff Gluck.
ChrisKnightCatchfence.com. I got two for you. Even though the regular season championship may be a tall task for you guys, how do you feel about the playoffs lurking? Do you feel like you guys are in a good position? Is there more to learn, or do you feel like that those are 10 races that you guys feel like you can execute?
Certainly the playoff schedule is really good for us. I think all the tracks minus Talladega, and I think or a lot of the drivers would be scared of Talladega too. But all the tracks are really good for us, and our performance has been extremely well. The cars have been really fast, but execution has really lacked, and that's something that scares me going into the playoffs. So we've got, a month and a half here, 6 races or so to get it cleaned up. But if the playoffs were starting tomorrow, I would be worried about it.
And does running the Truck Series race tomorrow for Shiki Hattori and Hattori Racing Enterprises pay any benefit towards Sunday?
Pocono is a unique track and one that we only go to once a year, and so I would say that it is going to be a little bit beneficial. The cars and trucks now are so entirely different that there's not a bunch you can take back and forth, but definitely getting track time is not going to be a hindrance for sure.
We'll go to Jeff in the front.
SVG's coming back for Indy Road Course. What are the challenges that he's going to face there that he didn't face at the street course?
I would say just the fact that we have all been there, we as in the Cup group has been there for a number of years now. So, lap 1 of the racetrack, we're going to know roughly where our brake markers are, what the grip level is going to be at, the different turns. So he's going to have to play catch up a little bit on the track knowledge. And I'm sure he's going to have a bunch of simulator time that'll prepare him for, the visuals of it. But, I would expect by the end of the weekend, him to not really have a disadvantage. But, the start of practice, I would think he's going to have to learn the track a little bit more than the regulars will.
We'll go in the middle.
Hi, Adam Tropper, Motorsports Today. So as Cup drivers, you only get limited truck starts every year. Is there any particular reason why Pocono Raceway ended up on your truck schedule?
Honestly, none from my standpoint. Matt Lucas at HRE contacted me earlier on in the season about doing a couple starts, and I said, yeah, if it works out and you guys are able to do it, I would. And North Wilkesboro was one that they really wanted to do. And it was a good one for me, too, because nobody had any track time there. And then after North Wilkesboro, he mentioned Pocono. So I would say it was more on the team than me.
And also you hinted on the differences between the truck and the next-gen cars in the Cup Series. You said the track time would trump that. Is there any correlation that you would be able to take away from the truck race to be able to help you besides track time?
One thing that's going to be interesting is the track compound or the track treatment that has not been put on this year, but as we saw from last weekend at Loudon, it's still there from years and years past. So it'll be interesting and definitely an advantage to see if that stuff comes in the truck race, how grippy it is, how wide it is, and what that looks like. So I would say that, truck to Cup car, nothing in the car is going to translate, but track time, track conditions, that stuff will.
Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
Any final questions? We'll go in the back, and we'll come back up to Chris.
Kyle Magda, Rowdy Maglite Racing Media. Can you talk a little bit about how your truck was with Hattori at North Wilkesboro? And, what was it like getting back in the truck? And then and you also have a win here. You won here in 2017 with Kyle Busch Motorsports.
Yeah, certainly getting back in a truck was really enjoyable at a very historic track. And I thought that it was a decent run. We qualified, I think, somewhere in the back half of the top 10, practice around the same place. So it seemed like that 5th to 10th range was kind of where we stacked up at North Wilkesboro. And, hopefully are a little bit more competitive than that this week. And it's a place that, like you said, I have won before, but Kyle Busch Motorsports has had a hand on for a long time now. So we're gonna have to be proper if we want to win this weekend. That's for sure.
Any final questions? We'll go in the front.
Chris, Shane Hector, Underground Sports. What is it that you need to do to be successful here at Pocono, considering it's been about 6 years now since you last won here?
Pocono is always the same challenges, no matter if you're here in a truck, Xfinity car, Gen 6 Cup car, or a next-gen Cup car. The tunnel turn is really tough, and just the differences between turn 1 being really banked, turn 3 being really flat, and then both of them leading to really long straightaways. So it's just a big compromise of trying to get your car to do what it needs to do in order for the driver to be comfortable. And last year the JGR Camrys were really strong. I kind of found myself on the back half of the team with the 11 and 18 running really well, and then I was a little bit behind them. But I think that your car's got to be very stable and comfortable at the speeds that you have here at Pocono. But it also has to turn really well, because if you're tight, you're not going to make any speed at all off the corners. So it's a tough track that we generally see the guys who succeed here they typically do well year after year, and hopefully I can become one of those guys at some point.
We'll take one final question in the middle.
Hey, Christopher, Eddie Kalegi, Motorsports Today. You were talking about how different the 3 turns are here at Pocono, and there's really no track like it on the circuit. Your last road course race, Chicago Street Course, you had a lot of speed. Do you kind of view Pocono sort of more like a road course or an oval from your perspective?
It has. Definitely the 3 corners being unique is unlike any other oval that we have. But with the speeds being up, everyone classifies it as an intermediate. So, I think if you look at setup stuff, you're looking more towards the 1.5 miles, or a place like Michigan, Indianapolis Oval, which we haven't been yet in the next-gen car. But, those are the kind of tracks that relate more to Pocono than, any road course, just because the speeds are down.